Guten Abend, ganz herzlich willkommen zum heutigen Abendanlass Keramische Architektur in der Baumuster-Centrale. Es ist eine Veranstaltung, die wir selbst überhaupt nicht auf dem Schirm hatten, noch zu Beginn des Jahres. Erst im Februar hat uns eine entsprechende Anfrage von der spanischen Botschaft erreicht. Es war das Wirtschafts- und Handelsbüro der spanischen Botschaft und in der Zwischenzeit ist der ganze Anlass zu einer sehr großen Nummer herangewachsen und wir freuen uns natürlich auch sehr über das zahlreiche Erscheinen des Publikums. Herzlichen Dank hierfür. In diesem Zusammenhang möchte ich mich auch noch bei Maria Escudero bedanken. Sie ist die Frau vorne bei der Wettbewerbsabgabe. Ganz herzlichen Dank an dich, Maria. Wir haben da eng zusammengearbeitet in der Organisation dieses Abends. Bedanken möchte ich mich auch beim Instituto Valenciano de Competitividad e Innovación. Sie haben diesen Abend mitfinanziert und ermöglicht. Spanien hat eine sehr lange und ausgeprägte Tradition in der Herstellung von keramischen Fliesen und aus diesem kulturellen Erbe heraus ist auch eine große keramische Industrie entstanden und diese Industrie hat sich zusammengeschlossen im Branchenverband, das ist die Asociación Española de Fabricantes de Azulejos und kurz ASCER genannt und mit ihnen haben wir diesen Abend organisiert. Der Verband setzt sich ein für keramische Kultur in der Architektur und verleiht jedes Jahr auch entsprechende Preise, nämlich den Tile of Spain Award. Zwei der Büros, die für diesen Preis nominiert waren und gewonnen haben, sind heute bei uns zu Gast. Und um die vorzustellen, werde ich now I switch to English to introduce you our guests, so you can also understand what I'm talking about. First, we'd like to welcome STUDIO.NOJU. This is an office from Madrid, and it has only been founded in 2020 by Antonio Mora and Eduardo Tazón. Eduardo is here with us tonight, and he will present us the beautiful project of the refurbishment of the apartment in Torres Blancas, the Torres Blancas monument of modernist brutalist architecture. Myself, when I was an Erasmus student back in 2000 in Madrid, I desperately wanted to visit the Torres Blancas, but I just got inside the entrance hall and I never could visit an apartment, so I finally get tonight also the chance to see, get an insight, so thank you very much for coming and fulfill me that wish tonight. And our second guest is OAB Office of Architecture in Barcelona. This is an office that has a much longer history. It's the follow-up office from the office that Carlos Ferrater has founded in 1971, and so this is now the second generation which is in charge and making a lot of projects, has realized a lot of projects, and two of these projects have won the Tile of Spain Award. We have the pleasure to welcome Lucía Ferrater tonight here, and she will present us these two projects which have been awarded, plus another two projects, which with a special attention to ceramic tiles. So these are the two offices, and before I hand over to Eduardo, I want to welcome also Clara Vicedo. She is responsible for communication at ASCER, the company, the foundation that covers all the companies from the ceramic industry, and she will present us quickly the ASCER, and she was the one who also invited all our speakers tonight and all the companies which expose their ceramic products on the other hand side, and you're very welcome to explore this exhibition right after the speeches. So please give a warm welcome to Clara.
Well, hello, good evening, everyone. Firstly, I want to thank Lucía and Eduardo for accepting our invitation. And thank you, Stefan, for sharing your house with us. It's an honor to be here, and welcome everybody. I hope you enjoy this evening where ceramics and architecture meet. Well, firstly, I want to briefly explain the structure of our industry. A unique aspect of the Spanish Ceramic Tile Manufacturer Association is that there's a high geographical concentration in the area of Castellón. The region of Castellón is in the Mediterranean area. Maybe you haven't heard about it, but now you have heard about it. There we have more than the 85% of our manufacturers. There's a close collaboration among tile manufacturers, frites, glazes, machinery, all related to ceramic tiles. But besides, they collaborate and they work together with the university, which has degrees focused on ceramics, and also the Technological Institute of Ceramics, which is also located in Castellón. The result of this collaboration is a continuous innovation, not only in the process of manufacturing tiles, but also in the products. Well, here I wanted to show you some data, basic data of our sector. Spain is the first European producer, and ASCER has more than 100 companies, which gives employees to almost 15,000 people. Well, I wanted also to explain that Tile of Spain is the umbrella brand umbrella brand of the Spanish ceramic tile industry, under which we promote the Spanish ceramic tiles among architects and designers. Well, the Spanish ceramic tile sector boasts a long tradition, as I said, linked to an innovative industry and cutting-edge designs. Thanks to the continuous investment in innovation and research, the Spanish ceramic tile companies offer a wide range of ceramic tile products that goes from the very tiny mosaics to the long slabs that can reach 3 meters long, without forgetting the special pieces of extruded ceramics or even the double thick tiles that you can lay on the floor directly. Depending on the manufacturing process, Spanish ceramic tiles can be used in the interior, exterior, urban spaces, facades, countertops. The choices are endless for the architects and designers. Well, designers and architects hold ceramic tiles in very high regard, thanks to the versatility and beauty. Even though ceramic tiles is one of the oldest material in the world, it continues to impress people, to impress architects and designers with its potential and the capacity for the experimentation it has. And related to this, I want to present the Tile of Spain Awards that we have been organizing for already 23 years. The awards recognize the best projects, national and international, that best use the Spanish ceramic tiles. These awards have every year it has a prestigious jury. We have had Carlos Ferrater for twice as the president of our jury. Last year we have Carme Pinós, and 2 years ago we had Erbe as the president of our jury. The awards had 2 categories, architecture and interior design, each one with a 15,000 euro money prize. Well, I encourage you to participate in the next edition. The call of entries for the next edition will be next week, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, next week. You can present your projects till the end of October. Well, these awards play a crucial role in our sector because they are showcasing how diverse architectural projects using Spanish ceramic tiles can be. We organized the award ceremony in Cebisama, is the international trade fair for ceramics in Spain, one of the most important worldwide. Well, I think you have next year the opportunity, the chance to be there. I hope you can visit it. Well, all the information about the awards are on our website, tileofspainawards.com. Before we move to the presentation, I'm pleased to show you some of our publications about Spanish ceramic tiles and architecture. I'm confident that these resources will be of value to you as you explore the possibilities of ceramic tiles in architecture and design, and interior design. You can find them in the exhibition area over there with the companies and the materials. But of course, if you need anything else or you don't have a copy of something, you can write to me or you can contact me and I would be pleased to send you the publications. Our full range of resources is available at our website too. And well, to finish with the presentation, I want to finish with this quote of Sir Norman Foster: "As an architect, you design for the present with an awareness of the past for a future which is essentially unknown." And yes, the future in construction and architecture is related to a sustainable economy, durable environment, and social awareness. In this context, challenging context, Spanish ceramic tiles are compromised, offering the best quality, design, and the uses that your projects can need. Additionally, I have to say that for our manufacturers, there's a word that is very important for us, is respect. Respect for the material, respect for the workers, and respect for the environment. Well, most of you are architects from Switzerland, you might not be very familiar with the Spanish ceramic tiles, but here you have the perfect moment to know about the Spanish ceramic tiles and to learn with the best professional architects and manufacturers. So enjoy the night and yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Clara. Hi, my name is Eduardo Tazón. I'm an architect and founder of STUDIO.NOJU, as you said, with Antonio Mora. And first of all, I would like to offer my thank you to Baumuster-Centrale and Tile of Spain for inviting me here and showcase a small project. Like, you know, it's a small project, but I think that it's an interesting one because I think it poses a lot of interesting questions when it comes to, for instance, architectural heritage preservation. So the project, we call it About Torres Blancas, in a way sort of to establish already that it's about a dialogue with the building, a dialogue with its heritage, and all of the very complex ideas that are embedded within. But before I jump into explaining the project, I think it's fundamental that we talk about Torres Blancas, which is, you know, where all of our design decisions stem from. Torres Blancas is a project which translates to white towers, which are not white, and they're not two, they're just one. But Torres Blancas is a project by Francisco Javier Sáez de Oiza. It was built between 1963 and 1969. And it sits right in the middle of it sits in the center of Madrid, right at the entrance of the old entrance of the city when you're coming from Barcelona. And it was a very fascinating project at the time because it was very forward-looking. I mean, the architect envisioned this project as an extension of the linear city, like a vertical extension of that typology of city, like the garden city sort of going into its vertical axis. And we see this watercolor, and it's interesting because it was made to convince the city that this was a plausible project, that even though it was very utopian at the time, it was a project that still had like its best interest in its city, and of course in this new model of condensed city, a vertical sort of hybrid of program of residential and commercial. And sort of this was kind of that watercolor that convinced the city. And of course, you can already see that the original plan of building 2 couldn't end up coming into fruition because, of course, construction costs of such an experimental building were very high. The building, it's not just like a landmark because of its hard architectural kind of mastery of all of the crafts and design. It was one of the first reinforced concrete projects that was built in Spain. So, of course, due to the experimental nature of the construction system, and not just the construction system, but also the formality of the building was very, very unique. Construction costs, as I said, had modified a lot the way that the project came at the end. But even the fact that had all of these constraints, the project was extremely utopian and forward thinking, and a lot of the things that were planned actually came into fruition. So the architect envisioned this building. This is a quote from him that he kind of explains this idea of communal living, like having all of this public program belonging into the tower. You could have like a daycare center, a chapel, shops, restaurants, and a lot of those uses didn't end up happening because, of course, the space had to be leased to make it more financially kind of profitable. But 2 of the main ones, the swimming pool and the restaurant, actually did happen. And there's a lot of architectural details in the floor plan that kind of talk about this idea of communal living. Even the way that the project was publicized at the time, it was extremely interesting. It was very forward thinking. Let's just remember that this is the 1960s, and there was the idea of having a mixed program in a tower now seems to be the normal, but back then was very, very kind of forward thinking. So at the end, as I said, the swimming pool at the rooftop level, the 24th floor, it's one of the remaining public programs it's still there. Now it's been refurbished, so there's a lot of care for those remaining communal spaces. And even the restaurant did have like its good run, like a decade or so. And it was the Roberto de Nola restaurant, very high-end, very exquisite cuisine, 360 views of the city, which was, like very, very remarkable at the time. And the interiors of the restaurant were even designed by the architect itself. You can already see kind of this formal language in the ceiling with this kind of like reflecting paint, already transmitting the exterior kind of language to the inside. Interestingly, and one of the most fascinating facts about the restaurant is that it was able to send food to all of the apartments via a dumbwaiter. And all of the apartments had this tiny kind of dumbwaiter door, and they would be able to call the restaurant. Again, 1960s, 1970s, and they would be able to call the restaurant, ask for a chicken, and have it delivered down to their apartments. So it was, it was very utopian because, of course, when you come to think into the numbers of it, it was hard to be able to serve the entire restaurant guests and also perhaps like 100 residents at the same time. And one of the reasons that it didn't end up sort of extending its lifespan is because there wasn't a plan for its own elevator. So all of this public use of the top floors, it was very conflicting with the tenants of the building. So they had to share the same 2 main elevators to access the residences and also the public program. Of course, the swimming pool is still one of the highlights of the tower. Very unique, great views, and probably one of the coldest waters you can of a swimming pool in Madrid because it's very high up. But it was really interesting because You see, nowadays, one of its main kind of problems that the building has is maintenance costs. So it's important sort of to highlight the importance of the tower and, again, reclaim its importance as part of the architectural kind of heritage of the city. During its very costly construction, a lot of changes were done to the floor plan layout. So for instance, initially, there were a plan to have 16 units that were meant to be duplex apartments, so 400 square meters, 2 stories, and only 8 of them happened because as they were building the tower, of course, they realized that they needed to make it more financially viable, and they substituted them for smaller 80 and 120 square meter apartments. But still, like one of the most interesting aspects of the building is that it's able to condense different typologies of families, different typologies of apartments. So it goes from either the 80 and 120 square meter, which would be like an eighth of a floor plan, or a 200 square meter, which would be a quarter of a floor plan, or the 400 meter unit, which would take 2 quarters into different stories. As you see in the section, the main residences section would be like the core of the tower, and then at the bottom, the lobby space, the way you enter through the building would be 1 floor down. So he always said that to go inside the building, you first need to go down and then you go up. And a lot of the public program was planned along the ground floor and also, of course, at the top floor. It's even though it looks very complex from the outside, the tower actually follows this simple kind of diagram. All of the apartment units can be translated into an L shape that surrounds an outdoor space, because you'll see that the outdoor space is going to be kind of the protagonist of these apartments. As I said before, this was meant to be an extension of the garden city vertically, so the proportion of outdoor space versus indoor space was going to be very important. So you see that this L-shaped apartment unit is going to be rotating from the east and south and west, but then at the north unit, which is the one that we refurbished, it sort of mirrors itself to focus the living areas towards the morning light of the east. And also it leaves a bit of space for that corridor that leads to the fire escape. Even at the time, these 2-story apartments were advertised as country town houses in the sky, because it was very unique to have such an amount of outdoor space when you think of a flat in the city. Even nowadays, to think of the amount of outdoor space that these apartments have, it's still very, it's very unique. So even the use of some of the materials that were chosen for this outdoor space really reminds us of like those townhouses. This would be the only floor plan that we were able to get before we started the project, because the project changed a lot during construction, and it's actually very hard to find as-built project floor plans. So the unit, when we found it, it was sort of talked about as one of the apartments that is kept in its most original state. So that was kind of the premise of the initial kind of floor plan. But then we started to compare it to the original project, and then we realized that, of course, all of that fantastic outdoor space that was meant to be the core of the house was completely gone. So you see a lot of sort of a lot of the terraces were turned into interior spaces, like this one here, like the line that sort of separated the terrace from the living room was pushed forward, so you totally lose the connection between these exterior spaces. So we already knew that this was a heavily modified version of the original apartment, and of course these are spaces that were meant to be exterior. So this is the moment when we start to come to terms, like how can we dialogue with such a strong architectural heritage? It's very nerve-wracking because it's a landmark in the city, especially for architects. And we knew that we were not the nostalgic type. So we knew that for us, preservation was not going to be a matter of keeping things exactly as they were 60 years, 80 years ago. But instead of that, we want to sort of focus on other values of the building and the apartment that are not necessarily listed within the preservation status. Of course, we needed to comply with its grade 1 preservation status that protects the facade and the common areas, but there are a lot of values that are not listed within that catalog. For instance, the type of light that comes through into the apartment that is very characteristic, the way that the whiteness, it's not just a color, but it's also a sense of thinking about a material as something malleable, and you'll see that very well in the lobby space. And there were all of these characteristics that we wanted to list that, again, belong to the essence of the building, and a lot of them were actually part of the narrative of the architect itself when he talked about the building. So rather than, again, preserving everything as is, we wanted sort of to have a new take on all of these existing values. So we'll see that a lot of elements of the building will sort of be transformed and sort of reinterpreted in our proposal. So without, without being nostalgic, but having a profound sense of respect for the building and the project. So we're going to start sort of diving into the renovation itself, starting with the ground floor. The ground floor layout and all of the program, it still is in the exact same place where the original architect planned it. And it's actually, it was really well kind of organized. Everything had, it was really well proportionate. So, you think that curved walls are going to be really hard to furbish, right? Where I'm going to put my bed against a curved wall. Well, actually, there's a really logic and really rational relationship between straight and curved lines. So whenever you need one, you're going to get a straight line. And then we started to compare the existing state to what we wanted to conceive. So let's start diving into the project. The first space would be the lobby space, or not the lobby, but let's say the entrance to the house. The architect has this very interesting quote, very convoluted but interesting quote, that talks about this idea of threshold. So how you design the architectural experience of entering a building, not just opening the door and you're already in, but he thought of something that had layers and had different moments. So for us, it was interesting to take this idea that already happens at the lobby space, and in a smaller scale, design a space that acts again as a threshold that dialogues between the existing building and the renovation. So that's why we created this semicircle space that takes all of the visual cues of the common areas, such as this burgundy color, and even the floor is Segovian slate sstone, and we were able to find the original quarry where we could get the exact same stone. So we sort of entering the house using the common kind of materiality of the building as a way sort of to dialogue between the building and the apartment. So this there's a sliding curved wall that opens up once towards the apartment. But again, it's a bit of a threshold. It's not just like walking into the apartment without any type of in-between. The next space that I'm going to talk about is the kitchen. Again, it sits exactly in the same spot that the original kitchen did. It's interesting because the architect thought of the kitchen as a true domestic laboratory, but I think he meant it in many ways. First of all would be the fact that the kitchen could become could change. Let's think of it. This is the 60s. Kitchens were, at least in Madrid, were meant to be service spaces. They were not part of the living area of the house. They were not meant to be noble spaces, which is the way that he referred to them. So the design and the materials and the elements were not necessarily, catering to it becoming part of the house. And of course, nowadays we think of kitchens very differently. Now kitchens belong to the living space and are even protagonists of our living space in our homes. So our idea of laboratory was, again, to bring back that sort of importance to the kitchen as part of one of the main spaces of the house, but also the laboratory in terms of testing out new solutions of how to design a kitchen. And one of those was, to really experiment when it comes to materials, to achieve this formal language that really really resonances with the geometry of the building. And you see all of the kitchen has this resin floor without, seamless floor that connects both of the kitchen spaces, and then a countertop that follows the geometry of the existing structural elements, and the structural elements are, it's a beautiful floor plan. It's like a combination of geometric shapes that are very willful, but very, with a lot of intention. So we kind of follow this entire wall with this countertop. And the challenge was, how can we truly make this countertop something that seems malleable, in the same sense that this kind of lobby space and other kind of elements in the building seems to be like something that you could sort of softly push and mold. So using solid surface, we were able to craft this this material and that is able to be curved in two directions, which was one of the challenging aspects. And also you see that all of the headboard, the floorboards are usually, aluminum standardized kind of solutions. We wanted it to be integrated into the doors itself and into the design itself. And even the countertop edge is sort of muted out by a 45-degree angle. So just by designing that section, we're able to transform and create like this very kind of fluid object that sort of goes throughout the kitchen. And this is the dumbwaiter that I was talking to you before. Some of the building tenants have it completely covered. Some of them have used it as a library, but we wanted to preserve it and really like showcase that kind of, the memory of that communal living that is of course kind of lost because it lasted, I think the dumbwaiter use lasted like for 4 months. But it's still there and with its original call buttons. And you see at the right, we have this kind of opening that again reminds us a lot about different elements in the building. And this was a design decision that was meant to highlight another of those elements that we wanted to focus on, which is the very characteristic amber light that comes through the glass block facade that all of the service areas of the house has. So this glass block facade, when the sun comes through, produces this fantastic like golden light. This is like the image is reality. Like this is a beautiful light. So of course we wanted it to make part of the apartment, and it used to be very close. All of the service areas had no visual connections to the rest of the house. So we wanted to open up perforations and create this opening sort of to frame that light and really make it like a protagonist once again. And even by the use of this mirrored material in some of the walls of the kitchen, we're able to bounce back and replicate that amber light that becomes part of the atmosphere of the apartment. One of his debates at the time with this decision or undecisiveness in whether to open up the kitchen towards the rest of the apartment or not was to either isolate the dining room towards the kitchen as it's the more conservative way, or to create or to open it up. He ended up sort of having the more conservative solution. So as a nod to his indecisiveness, we created this connection between both spaces by sliding curved mesh door that somehow still visually connects both spaces and creates like this sort of layered vision of both of them. And then again, like the connection between the kitchen and the rest of the house is highlighted and kind of cherished. And of course, then we move to one of the most important aspects of the apartment, which is the outdoor spaces. The architect even talked about these spaces as being like the core, the heart or the lung of the house. So again, the lung in a way referring to the fact that these terraces should be covered in greenery, right? He envisioned the tower to be fully covered in greenery that stems from the terraces, and so no concrete is almost left seen. But you see that we of course encountered the fact that all of that space was gone. We wanted to bring it back. This was kind of the state of those beautiful terraces. We're completely getting to interior. Again, it was a common thing at the time. even nowadays, when it comes to real estate value, the more rooms you have, at least in Madrid, the more rooms you have, the more your house is valued. And of course, these things are changing nowadays after, after we understood that outdoor space is much more valuable. So for the terraces, we wanted to, we really wanted to make something unique, something that stands out, not just keeping it as it was, but we wanted to design the terraces as a holistic project especially when it comes to materiality. Here we use these ceramic tiles of Spain, of course, and it's a beautiful kind of porcelain tile that has this glazing that really reflects the lighting, and we created these planters and seating benches, again, to sort of highlight the formality of the space. This is kind of like a concentric, like a meeting space, right? And we even used a lot of the plants that were suggested by the architect at the time that he designed the building. So the plants would start sort of to conquer the rest of the tower. And this is like a very sort of manual labor. Like each tile is placed by hand individually, and it's cut to shape. So it's definitely labor intensive, but for us it was important to make it so unique as to really claim its role as the heart of the house. So all of the living spaces really open up towards that exterior. And you already see that the connection to the exterior doesn't stay just beyond the glass. Also the floor inside sort of protrudes from the outside using the same tile and acts as a recipient of indoor plants, to change your plants in summer and winter. So the connection between spaces sort of blurs out. And of course, this is kind of like the effect that we wanted to achieve. This is what we found. This is the beginning of the recolonization by plants of the concrete. The rest of the floor plan is kept as a very open floor plan to truly highlight the fluidity that is a result of the very singular structural floor plan. These in-between spaces are really, trying to focus on creating that circulation. For instance, this used to be like a connection didn't exist before, so it just ended up in like a 90-degree angle wall. But we wanted to sort of highlight again like the fluidity of the structural elements creating the circulation. So we opened up this curved corner using curved glass, and you see how the shape of that exterior space sort of blends in towards the interior. And all of the living spaces at the first floor are used inside of the open floor plan. We try to use wood as a way of sort of framing certain spaces. So, for instance, the living room, even though it's an open floor plan, then the wood rises vertically and sort of creates like this backdrop for the sofa, for instance. And then we created something that, again, wants to highlight one of these elements that we thought was important, which we explained before, like the amber light. This is another view of the living room towards the other side. And you see that we created this perforated paneling to sort of disguise a lot of storage space. But we used the same acrylic material that is used at the entrance of the tower, and we kind of dialed the temperature of light inside of these coves to really mimic the light that is coming from the natural light at the other side of the apartment. So again, it's another way of preserving something that is not necessarily part of that sort of preservation catalog list. This is another view of those in-between spaces when we are able to start to see other elements that are interesting. And you see, like, the change of materials was important because spaces are not defined by a very clear line. Like, the differences in between spaces are very blurred. So how to highlight that, like, ambiguity even more? You see, like, how the material from outside comes in. The kitchen floor transforms into the staircase, spilling out of the kitchen, and of course the exterior one as well. Another nod to the building, it's by creating these full skylights that are a direct reference towards the lobby space. The lobby space of the building, of the Torres Blancas building, it's an absolute masterpiece. It's full of this kind of cave-like plaster mold, kind of, I don't know, the architect used to call them molars, because he created them after having a dream of having like a lot of paint in his molars. That's what it said. But that's kind of like the reference. But we see the image and we think of it, it's not just formality, but also white, again, as something that's not just a color. In the white areas is where you see the material being kind of transformed and molded. So that's when we started to think about this ceiling fixtures, in which they seem to sort of melt from the material of the ceiling, as a nod of to that idea that we see in the lobby. And this space, this kind of light fixtures are meant to simulate outdoor lighting, so the same temperature of light, the same intensity, of course, to create the false sensation of having like a skylight in a 10th floor apartment, which is right in the middle of the building. But you know, these were very kind of, it was really a crafts, there was a lot of craftsmanship behind it, a lot of, from carpenters to lighting designers to plaster makers, traditional kind of plaster making. It was very challenging, but again, everything was needed to really create like this effect. Another nod to the building, it's very distinguishable facade element, which is the wood shutters. The entire building, all of the apartments have this layer of wood shutters, or mallorquines, which is the way that we call them in Spain. And we wanted to reference those inside of the apartment as well. So we created like our take on those shutters by creating, instead of having curtains or just blackouts, we created this Mallorquina system inside that is able to be stored in these hidden panels at the corners of the living rooms, and uses a rail system that is typically used in mobile kind of partitions in big spaces, and you're able sort of to not just reference those wood shutters outside, but also it's a reminder of the original facades module that was 60 centimeters by 60 centimeters. And of course, by opening up with all of this glass, we didn't want to lose that kind of rhythm. So these shutters somehow reminds us of the scale of the windows back then. Another kind of small experiment to say is with the floor, with the wood floor. Again, the floor plan, it's an L shape, so when you have to choose the direction of the floorboards, it's not really clear, it could be both. So we opted to choose a very homogeneous kind of looking wood that didn't distinguish too much between panels. And then we created this custom sort of fake joints that resemble a lot of gestures from the floor plan of the project. So in a way to, again, diffuse the directionality of the floor and add another layer of complexity and richness to all of the elements of the project. The staircase showcases one of, the only element that we kept from the original apartment, which is the handrail. Everything else that you see is completely new. But the handrail seemed to have its own identity, and these polished brass handrails are used throughout the building. So brass is another one of those materials that are part of the identity of the building, and it's a direct reference that Oiza does to one of his reference or masters, which is Frank Lloyd Wright. So we kept that original railing, and we didn't just like preserve it as it was, but we also started to take that brass material and take it to other details of the house. So whenever two materials encounter each other, we use this brass element sort of to make a separation. Or even like some of the fixings are made with the same material, sort of to make everything feel like coherent. Let's move to the second floor, which is the floor where all of the bedrooms are. The layout of the floor plan actually comes from something that also the architect said when it comes to corridor spaces. Oiza said corridor spaces should be also living spaces. So he wanted to promote this idea that you don't just have a hallway. That hallway needs to be also part of a space that can be lived in. the truth is that the layout that he ended up doing, probably because of real estate value or whatever, ended up with a very sort of standard long corridor that distributes to different bedrooms. So our idea was to really go back to that idea, that original kind of text that Oiza wrote, which was to create a sequence of spaces that are lift spaces that direct towards the main sort of sleeping quarters. So you see that in between, you walk through living spaces rather than just a plain corridor. So for instance, this is a space that acts as a day living room. It can be transformed into a bedroom because all of that kind of paneling on the left is a bed that comes down, but it's also part of the walking area towards the rest of the house. So these in-between spaces for us were important. Like this corridor, originally there was one curve. We turned it into 4. It's about maximizing what was already there. Even this kind of nook that used to be the place where you hang the clothes to dry, which seems a pity because it's such a beautiful space. We turned it also into a small studio space that looks towards the city. And it's really interesting because you only see the cityscape once you sit down, because the openings, the transparent openings are right at the eye level when you're sitting down. And then, of course, we arrive through these intermediate spaces towards the main bedrooms. The house has 2 fixed bedrooms, which is these 2, again, using the wood sort of to highlight the backdrop and sort of to frame the beds. And it has 2 of these versatile rooms. These are rooms that can be transformed easily into a bedroom, but it's a way of responding to different needs of the family. While it grows up, you'll probably change. Like maybe you start without kids, and then kids come, and then kids leave. So in a way, it's an adaptable house layout. So it's a way to not have always like 4 bedrooms in such a big apartment that are always with a bed and that no one uses it. So it's important to also think of that flexibility, and also different types of families. Not everyone has kids. Maybe they turn it into a workshop space, or they turn it into a playroom or whatever. The bathrooms are also, this is the last space that almost the last space. The bathrooms are also interesting. The apartment has 5 bathrooms. This is not our design. These were the original bathrooms, which again, when we saw them, it's like, they're not so, yeah, it could be. But there was one thing that was interesting, which is not the tiling at the back, which is this small mosaic tile that you see that it comes from the floor, it transforms into the kind of the bathtub, and also makes, so that idea of using the same material to cover everything was how we designed the bathrooms. So instead of using like that old tile, we use a more contemporary version of it, and we really wanted to enhance that idea, which was to tile all of the surfaces of the bathrooms, making all of the furniture, seating spaces, the bathtubs, the floor, the walls, and also do something that this project did, which you see that shower thing, where you put the curtain, that's not original, because originally all of the bathrooms were meant to splash, and then all of the water goes into a drain, so you don't have to use like ugly kind of shower curtains. So that same idea was preserved. All of the bathrooms are able to be splashed, of course, and there are no shower curtains and no kind of glazings that divides. And again, the formality of the building comes into play inside of the bathrooms, and all of them have the same sort of strategy, the same type of mosaic, different colors, but with the white fixtures and the curved mirrors. This is the main bathroom, which is the only one that looks towards the outside. And then this is another one of those bathrooms with like a sage green finish. This is the powder room with a custom-made wash basin, another one of the bathrooms. So in a way, instead of having like small interior design projects all over the house, independent of each other, this is a way to make it feel like a total architectural kind of coherent project. And the last space I'm going to discuss is the terrace from the main bedroom, which used to look like this, and now it looks like this. Again, of course, we wanted to treat it as an exterior space, but also offer the possibility of having like this in-between state of being an enclosed space with like a very big bathtub, and then you're able to close it with this very light curtain that sort of resembles also the green tiling that we kept. I mean, the green tile had to be the icon of the outdoor spaces of the house. And of course, again, like the care of how this was placed, it made all of the difference. And yeah, so we think that we achieved at least the objectives that we set to ourselves, which was to recover that idea of the tower being like this garden city, explored vertically and very lush. And all of these kind of ideas that were at the beginning ended up being transformed and translated as a way to truly highlight our kind of commitment to how important this building is. And it's very nerve-wracking to intervene in such a landmark, but we wanted to showcase that the building has still a lot of more years. You know, it's going to last for a long time because it allows for all of these modifications in time. And we can stop the video whenever it's time out. But yeah, I'd rather not see. Well, anyways, but yeah, thank you. Thanks. Ya ha pasado.
Lo has hecho muy bien, ¿eh?
Ay, gracias. Ay.
Sí, okay.
Hello, good evening. Thanks to come, and thanks Clara, thanks Stefan. And just one thing, I have to excuse my English. It's not very good English, and papers are going to help me a little bit. And also I have a translator in front of me. If I have some problem, I'm going to ask for some help. Then, we choose 4 projects for tonight that are very special because ceramic is in the ADN of these 4 projects. And I choose this title from the urban to small scale context because we are going to visit the West Beach Promenade in Benidorm, a huge scale project in the region of the ceramics near Castellón. And then we will finish in a personal project, a small house. It's our house, the family house. And sometimes very difficult when you are an architect and you have to build your own house. And we choose these 4 because the ceramic is very, very important. In the first one, in the promenade, we can say that ceramic is a topographical. It's a flexible surface. The ceramic, it's a flexible topography. In the second project, the ceramic, it's an envelope of the building. In the third project, it's a house, the second project, a huge house. And the third project, it's Roca Gallery. The Roca Gallery, it's a company that manufactures one of the things, it's ceramic. And when you it's special, because when you have to build something for someone that its economy, it's ceramic. And then the last one, it's when the ceramic, our house, it's an heritage. It's a legacy of, it's a traditional piece that it's an architectural heritage of the region and of our place. Then I'm going to, and I will point some ideas that I'm going to read, not to forget things. And Benidorm is one of the Spanish towns where the massive industry of leisure and tourism has turned into a paradigm, an extremely high density concentrated in small territory, as you can see. From every place only takes 10 minutes walking to the beach, and from every tower you have views towards the sea. The 1.5 kilometers long promenade, it's a new transition location between built city and the natural space of sea and beach. This space is understood as an intermediary space given to this transition permeability. Inspired by the waves and tides and building concavities and convexities, adopt organic shapes that builds a set of platforms and levels with areas for playing, meeting, leisure, or contemplation. These schemes comes from an aleatory decision, but the development project, we had to establish fixed geometrical laws and modulation to make easier the construction, and with a small number of molds, wooden frameworks, we can see here, we would be able to combine with each other. The white walls are materialized in a concrete shell, very thin shell of 8 centimeters thick, reinforced with bar grids, fiber, and high-resistant and flexible mortars. The promenade is structured in different layers. The structural layer that creates the perimeter line with the white concrete, one. The second, the texture layer with paving in different colors. And the third, the elements, the urban furniture, banks, hand railing, and the space of vegetation. And I would like to focus on the ceramic piece, especially designed for this project, and how a round shape tile has given the flexibility to adapt the surfaces to the topography and allows an isotropic space. Being circular does not emphasize any particular direction, which facilitates its placement by exchanging pieces of different colors along the braided pattern of pavement. We can see here the round piece. This color glazed stoneware floor was designed by Xavier Martí, one of the authors of this project, and was developed in collaboration with Alicer, Institute of Ceramic Technology, and produced by Keramia Company. The project subsumes 3 different essences within the organic forms of modernism. the forms of fractal geometry in nature, the latest building technologies, and avant-garde landscape design. A new land site front is built, providing views towards the sea and beach from the upper level, and a new borderline established, integrating the different circulation in its undulations and platforms, eliminating a barrier and constructing a place for people to be. I can say also this project, the most incredible thing, and with projects above all these projects of landscape above all, but how a project can change life of people and can change a place and can transform. Benidorm has two beaches, west and east. The west was a beach very depressed, and no one went to the beach because all the shops in the front line were completely without no business, no anything. And this project activated all the life in this area. And Benidorm, it's the beach, it's gold, it's the gold of the city. Second project, the envelope, when the ceramic is an envelope. It's a house, but not exactly a house. Located next to a forest bordering a golf course. The house rises from the terrain as a series of sloping roofs among the trees. The project obeys to a geometric rules. An orthogonal grid of 7 by 7 with superimposed diagonals form the compositional basis of the project. It's influenced by another project that maybe you know about Antonio Bonet Castellana, that it's La Ricarda, one of our masters, like Javier Sainz de Oiza. It's one of our masters and our influencers, no? Our influencers. And thank you for your, I love your speech and your project. Thank you. Very sensitive and extraordinary building. And how lucky you. And the 45 degrees diagonals generates prolongations of the roofs. You can see a model here. It's a concept model. The first models we did. Generates prolongations of the roofs and opens skylights in some cases and double heights in others. It's another artificial topography, like Benidorm. The half of square meters of this house are hidden in a basement, and the ground floor cover all the ability program. Here you can see the floor plans. The living, the ground floor is the living, dining, kitchen, and 2 rooms for client and guests. And I don't know to explain because you can see easier. But where every space of the house is totally linked to an exterior piece of garden. And this is very important. The garden comes inside the house. From the inside, the diagonals disrupt the orthogonal layout capturing views of the landscape and making the space more dynamic. We can say that it's a house, but something else. It's many houses at the same time. It's more a pavilion. Here you can see the many houses. I'm going to explain you this. It's more a pavilion than a house. Japanese architects call it origami house, and now internally in the office we tell it in origami house. The connections of these two floors is not done through a main staircase, but 4 stairs connecting the different areas of the house. One stair, this stair, connects the gym, connects the main room to the gym and swimming pool. The others goes from the library to the cinema. It's over there. Library to the cinema. Or from the dining room to the wine cellar. And the last one links the kitchen to the service apartment. Then the basement is dedicated for leisure. It's where the client is a collector, and it's where they have parties and dinings, fiesta. And in the ground floor, they live in the ground floor, but and they live with normal, but they put suits and nice dresses to go down for parties, no? And to see this nice collection of cars. And they have a cinema and all of this. A unitary envelope of ventilate facade and roof, built with the ceramic materials of long size, we can see here, and minimum thickness, allows the house to be related in some parts with the ground, leaving the rest to the big transparent openings. All the slab, it's tense, it's tension, ¿cómo se llamaba esto? Tensión, post-tensado? Post-tensing, it's post-tensing slabs. All the roof is a post-tensing, or tensional, no? Post-tensional slab. All of the roof, it's also, you can see a topography. This is a special day in many years ago, I think 12 years ago or more. It was snowing in Barcelona. This is not normal, but when we could see this day, we called quickly to the photographer, please go and take a photo. And this is very special. Then the third project, it's Roca Gallery, Roca Barcelona Gallery. We had conceived an institutional headquarters for Roca Company, a company that manufactures sanitary elements such as toilets, sinks, and also ceramic pieces. I think you know this company. The building had to be a flagship, and the architecture had to visualize the brand, advertising the values, the history, and the challenges of the company. The assignment had to consider an institutional headquarters, a museum of the brand, and a platform for social events that also involves the business world. The architectural design is based in two essential ideas: his exterior appearance and the experience lived in the interior space. We had to take advantage of an old building, office building, and we only maintained the concrete structures, making a new facade and also opening holes to get double and triple spaces inside. It was a very low building, but we were lucky because it was isolated and backwards from the street. And you can see, you have a perspective, a good perspectives, and face to the north. We didn't want to make a showcase facade that would arouse curiosity, curiosity about what happens inside. And after trying different possibilities, we propose we can see here, interior. After trying different possibilities, we propose a solution for the facade based on a succession of multiple glass pieces placed 90 degrees to the facade line. By testing prototypes, we were able to check how many visual defects it gave us: diffractions, reflections, and refractions of the light. The results were distortions, movements, and superimpositions of the images on the other side of the glass. Incredible, incredible. You can see how two cars are poor. It goes in the other way, and it's incredible. Finally, with the help of linear lighting, we achieved a solid appearance during the day and liquid appearance by night. Inside the gallery had to be an interactive space. You can see that. And here. No? Inside the gallery had to be an interactive space with presence detectors, directional speakers, light changes, and projections in plasma screens. For all of these, it had to be a continuous and dark space. A slightly reflective and experimental ceramic flooring. You can see here. Flooring. A false ceiling in stainless steel, and walls of foam tetrahedrons for the acoustics. All of them are continuous materials that recreates a whiteless space without spatial references, trying to convert it into a virtual space. This is the diffractions of the images, you can see. I will finish with this personal project. That it is a house that is located in Port de la Selva. Port de la Selva is a small village in the north coast of Catalonia. And it's a few villages that it's faced to the north and the north wind. This is the space, it's faced to France. A small construction between party walls that takes in account the architectural legacy of the location. And it is inspired in two houses in the neighboring village of Cadaqués. Maybe some of you know this village. It's very famous. Two examples of a respect for the traditional while they incorporate features of the modern. One is La Casa Villavecchia de Correa Milá, and the other is La Casa Senillosa de José Antonio Coderch. The house is built in a deep and long plot, 6 by 23 meters long. And because of this, the section solves the depth with the introduction of a patio. Yeah, there. The open and central space become a place for interacting, living, and being protected from the heat, cold, and wind. The section, you can see here, is lower in the backside to improving the insulation and the ventilation to the courtyard. And the house is faced to the north. And then the back building in the back, it's, the sun comes this way. Inside, the house is distributed in 3 levels. On the ground floor, the house has an access from both streets. A main entrance from the seafront, directly to the kitchen and dining room. The patio and garage entering from the backside. On the first floor are bedrooms, 2 interiors and 2 exteriors, and the back building, the building in the back. 2 interiors, and these 2 exteriors are connected by a gallery, a hanging gallery, a hanging pasarela. On second level, there are the library, the living area, and a sheltered terrace facing to the sea. The 2 facades, the front and the back. The patio, the courtyard with the hanging pasarela. It's a small patio, eh? It's 6 by 5. It's very small patio. But it's another living area of the house. And in construction terms, the house tries to economize as many elements as possible, recognizing the internal structural logic of its material. The inside, we wanted a naked house. We wanted to touch the materials. And inside, you can see the structure in steel, the cement, the concrete block painted in white, and the ceramic. This ceramic that it's our traditional legacy of this kind of tile, no? Ceramic tile, so traditional in our country, and so no cheap, but so simple, so simple. And these materials, thanks to the light, manifest the most sensitive aspects to the interior. And then you can find only 3 materials: the block, the steel, and also the collaborated slab. And all the house, it's surrounding all, it's using this tile, this ceramic tile in this color. It's the typical color of ceramic. But this ceramic is a little bit special because it's glazed, glazed. is made by Comella. Comella is, maybe you know Comella. It's one of the ceramistas, artisan ceramic that we have in Catalonia. And I will finish with a video. Aster, this project and also the promenade in Benidorm, both has the prize of Aster Prize, won in different years, but and this is won the interior design award, and the promenade has the architectural award. And this is a video. When we were confined, 3 months, we stayed in this house. And I think there were the best months in my life. Yeah, being with my children and with the dog and facing to the sea, and an incredible life. Because you discovered some corners that you never know, no? And you discover the house in other months, no? You discover in May, in March. Normally, we go in summer and weekends. That's all. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Lucía and Eduardo, for this beautiful and very charming presentations. Since time is already quite advanced, it's almost late in Swiss conditions, so I suggest that we we move forward to the next item in the program, which will be an apéro with tapas, with Spanish tapas we are waiting for. This apéro will be held on the other side, around and in between the exhibition of the ceramic tiles from Spain. And one last word about the competition, the trip to Sevilla next year. No. No, Valencia, somewhere in Spain next year. If you haven't filled out the form, you have another half an hour to do so, and the draw will be in something like 45 minutes, and the winner will be announced then. So have a great night. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. Buenas tardes y hasta luego.